Hi everyone, it's World of Strange again, and we're back with this time talking about underwater creatures, these beasts of the deep, as it were. And we have a few tales to tell you. And to join me on this is three lovely people, and I'm going to introduce them to you now. We have Lisa Coronado.
Hi.
And we have Stewart Strauss.
Hello.
And finally, we have Jake Wardle.
Hello.
And we're going to fire off with something that we introduced, in this new series, which is quite good. It has nothing to do with the subject matter. It's literally just a crazy little momentary bit of fun. So we're going to go over to Lisa now for the first of our strange facts.
Strange facts.
The dance fever of 1518 was a month-long plague of inexplicable dancing in Strasbourg, in which hundreds of people danced for about a month for no apparent reason. Several of them danced themselves to death.
I think I've heard of that. That rings a bell. I think I've read about that before.
I had no idea. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I think it's some kind of...
Wait a minute. Does that relate? There was a movie a long time ago. They shoot horses, don't they? With Jane Fonda, and I don't really remember who else at the moment. But it was all about dance marathons, and it was kind of during the Depression period, right?
Dance
I've
fever.
not seen the film, but I think I've read about this or heard of it. This 1518 one.
When was that? What year?
1518.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, what I'm talking about happened during the Depression it started in 1929. So okay, I'll try to pay a little more attention.
The film you're referring to, Stewart, might have been inspired by it.
Could have been easily.
Yeah, it said 400 people. Jeez.
People were so desperate and so hungry, so anything they could do to earn anything was a good thing.
Do you think they were? Do you think they were dancing for food?
I think there's some kind of
prizes that might have included that. They might have even fed them during the marathons. Who knows? But I have no idea what they did in the 1500s.
They think it was food poisoning, that it was fungus on bread. Looks like.
Yeah, these kind of things can do strange things.
Yeah, it's the same stuff with the Salem witch trials. It's all kind of tied.
I mean, have you seen these? When like animals get rabies, they kind of turn a bit zombie-like. So it's probably something like that, but that affected people in that period, in that unique area.
Yep.
Maybe it must have affected. Maybe the reason it appeared they were dancing is maybe it was like a muscle spasms or something caused by.
Maybe this particular fungus did something to the nerve, maybe.
Yes, that makes sense.
But at the time, they obviously didn't have the scientific equipment to observe it, so they just superstition came into it.
Yeah, I mean back then, of course, what was that? The 1580? Would that have been the Middle Ages period?
There was no Google.
Yeah, and it was steeped in superstition back then. That was to say, I think you said, Lisa, about the witch trials and things like that. They were very superstitious people, and seeing people voluntary jerk like that, they probably thought at the time that it was something that it wasn't. They read into it differently. And
yeah, it was like an LSD type experience people were having from just a common fungus.
There's a fungus that turns ants into zombies and makes them walk to a spot, and then the fungus sprouts out of them. And there's a video game series called The Last of Us.
I've played it.
Yeah, and there's the new one coming out, and that's basically based off of that real-life fungus that affects ants, and it's like, what if it jumped to people?
Yep.
Wow.
So creepy. Great game, by the way.
Yeah, amazing. Masterpiece of a game. Love it.
Lisa, you've become the gamer heroine, I think. Yeah.
I am. I'm playing Alien Isolation right now, and it's terrifying. hard, scary game. But I just got done playing The Last of Us, and that was wonderful.
You've been tweeting about those games, right?
Yeah, I'm doing it on Twitch. I'm streaming it. I got to stream today at noon, so I stream every day at noon playing a game.
Wow, that's fun.
It's super fun.
Cool.
I'm enjoying it. You can join me, guys, in chat. We can chat.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, I'm not a gamer myself, but I can see why people can get addicted to them. You know.
Yeah, they're fun. They're like living out a novel. I mean, it's like
I love games.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Stewart. And this is, of course, is one of the most famous of the water monsters. It is, of course, the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes, the modern legend of the Loch Ness Monster is born when a sighting makes local news on May 2nd, 1933. The newspaper, the Inverness Courier, relates an account of a local couple who claims to have seen an enormous animal rolling and plunging on the surface. The story of the monster, a moniker chosen by the Courier editor, becomes a media phenomenon, with London newspapers sending correspondents to Scotland and a circus offering a £20,000 sterling reward for capture of the beast. After the April 1933 sighting was reported in the newspaper on May 2nd, interest steadily grew, especially after another couple claimed to have seen the animal on land. Amateur investigators have for decades kept an almost constant vigil, and in the 1960s, several British universities launched sonar expeditions to the lake. Nothing conclusive was found, but in each expedition, the sonar operators detected some type of large moving underwater objects. In 1975, another expedition combined sonar and underwater photography in Loch Ness. A photo resulted that, after enhancement, appeared to show what vaguely resembled the giant flipper of an aquatic animal. Further sonic expeditions in the 1980s and 1990s resulted in more inconclusive readings. Revelations in 1994 that the famous 1934 photo was a complete hoax has only slightly dampened the enthusiasm of tourists and investigators for the legendary beast of Loch Ness.
Well, with the Loch Ness Monster, it's one of those things that I'd love it to be true, but
Is that in Scotland?
yeah,
Ireland?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Scotland. The thing is, it's been going on for so long now. Is that if there was this Loch Ness Monster, would it still be alive?
I think a succubus would have gotten it by now.
Yeah.
And then she had any babies, maybe, and it carried on the family tradition. I don't know.
They'd be very inbred, though, wouldn't they? If they were in that small area.
Inbred. Okay. Inbred Nessies.
Inbred. Also, you said one of the accounts was it was on land as well. I've only ever heard of accounts of it being in the Loch Ness, not on land. So maybe there's a cave full of them somewhere, and they all come out and they go for a dip in the lake and then go back to their cave or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they go, to catch some sun on the land for a little while and then go back in the water again. Yeah. But that's one of the most famous ones, really. To do with any sort of mythical creature in the water. Loch Ness is so famous.
Have you been there?
Imagine everybody's heard of the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, no, I've not been there, but I've been to Loch. They say Loch. There's like a Loch Ness.
Sorry about that.
I've been to Loch Lomond. That's really beautiful. Yeah, that is amazing. Similar to Loch Ness, very barren.
Yes. One question for you: did I pronounce Inverness right, or how's
you
that
did?
said?
Yeah, it's Inverness. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hence the name Nessie, I guess. Ness from that. Yeah. Well, Loch Ness, of course. Yeah, but there is another one with Lisa later on. That is just the American or Canadian equivalent to Loch Ness, which we'll hear about. is
Yeah.
become quite mythical as well. You know, a similar kind of creature apparently. But anyway, there were some. I mean, you got pictures like I've seen several photographs of it, and it's always very, very suspicious. Sometimes it can literally just be like a floating log down the water that they took a picture of, and it just seemed to be shaped like a head, you know, or something like that. It's just very misleading, you know.
Wow.
Sure, it's kind of whatever you want to see in it, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and how much of the water, like the ocean's creatures and depths, have we not explored? I
That's a
mean,
good point.
Yeah, amazing.
We know more about, I think, the moon. So
I can believe that.
Like 70% of the Earth. So
I've seen some of the footage you see, you know, on these, you know, like the History Channel or things like that, and when they do like the ocean films about the aquatic life,
Mhm.
and you see some of the weird things that are down there.
they're so
Well, it's like an alien planet, yeah. So I mean, we haven't scraped the surface, literally, in the ocean. You know, I think we should be exploring down there really more,
Yeah.
because there's some really freaky things down there. You know,
Could you imagine the descendant of an ancient aquatic dinosaur that just lives deeper than we can currently explore? Wouldn't that be an exciting find?
That would be.
Yeah.
all right, Jake, I think you're going to sort of sandwich between these two sort of similar creatures with a completely different one, but we can still call it a creature, I guess, because we don't know what it really is. It's mythical. So, Jake, please take it away with the mermaid encounter.
It's a world of strange.
This is an account from August of 1991. A diver was out in the water near Cape Aya on the Crimean Peninsula, Ukraine, in the Black Sea. He was about 100 meters off the coast in calm seas under a full moon when he suddenly felt something poking at his shoulder. Turning around to see what it was, there was only the splashing of water all around. Thinking that his friends were playing a practical joke on him, the witness began to swim towards the shore, thinking nothing of it. That was when he experienced a strong strike to his shoulder, and this time, when he turned around, he was met with the sight of the face of a woman there in the water. Although her eyes were described as being much larger than normal, and even creepier still, she seemed to exude a bioluminescence. The scared witness immediately made his way towards shore, with as much vigor as he could muster, and behind him he could hear thrashing in the water, which he forced himself not to look back at, afraid of what he might see. As he drew near to the shore, perhaps thinking that he was away from the thing that he had encountered, he felt another powerful jab to his shoulder, and he once again saw the face of the mysterious swimming woman, her eyes black and expressing what he called disappointment. The swimmer rushed onto shore, screaming and looking back as he purportedly made out a silver body splashing on the surface to disappear down into the black depths. Although the terrifying experience was over, he found himself obsessed by what he had seen, even seeing the strange woman in his dreams, and felt compelled to go back several times to the same location, but never saw her again.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like the film Splash. Yeah.
That's an awkward first date.
Flash was a great movie. Fun movie.
I'd be very interested if Daryl Hannah was coming towards me like that. You know, I definitely want to be going back down there to have a look.
Well,
you know?
Isn't that, our vision of a mermaid and what a mermaid maybe actually was, at least by his account, doesn't sound so glamorous,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. She looked back at him with disappointment.
Yeah.
Oh,
I found that line really funny. I was going to pick up on that. I thought, what is she thinking about him then?
What's going on?
Really that bad?
You came to the lake to have a date with me.
Right. Like, land creatures, they're overrated.
Yeah.
It's similar to, isn't it? I think the mermaid, is it similar to the stories about the sirens? The sirens of the sea.
Oh, that lured the sailors and
that lure them into the water to their doom. And all that. And they put like nymphets, I think they call them, isn't it? Nymphs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Part of
sang.
that, isn't it? Yeah, there's a thing that calls the sirens. They're called like the sirens. I think that's where the words. Where they make a kind of eerie call in the water, and lots of like the men maybe working in the lighthouses or the fishermen would be lured by this sound to the water, and they see these beautiful women in there, luring them to their deaths in the water, basically drowning them. Yeah,
very interesting.
Really old mythical tale. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see obviously where the word siren comes from. Then.
The siren, sirens like in Marilyn Monroe was a siren, that kind of thing. I guess it's all
She didn't even have to whistle.
No, she didn't have to do anything. Yeah, some people just have it, I think, but that's what this story came. I think this is what all the mermaids are kind of like a take on that, I think,
Yeah.
But hadn't the mermaid myth been around longer than the siren myth? Which came first? That's the question.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the mermaids. Yeah, you might be right. Jake.
Mermaids might be like a fairy tale fantasy, know, as opposed to what a siren represented.
There were also mermen as well, apparently. So it's not just the mermaids. But,
I've heard that one as well.
Merman, but mer spelled MYRR, merman, I think. Yeah.
Looks like sirens were in Greek mythology.
Yeah, that's it. I think
that's probably going back. It's the origin of a lot of things, isn't it? Through the Greeks.
Yeah, mermaids were folklore of Europe, Asia, Africa, ancient Assyria.
Ancient Assyria.
That's where the first stories appeared. Yeah, it says a goddess transformed herself into a mermaid out of shame for accidentally killing her human lover.
Oh boy. What else do we call that? Black Widow.
Yeah.
Succubus.
It's the succubus of the sea. This one. Lisa, you have the other famous Loch Ness monster type.
I do.
Creature. And their nickname, because it's named after the lake there, called, I thought it was Champ, but I think it's Champ or Champ.
Champlain. Yep.
Champlain, Lake Champlain, yeah. Where is Lake Champlain? Is it Canada or the States? I think it's Canadian, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm related
Lake
to Champlain, but I don't know where that is.
Let me do my searching then. Lake Champlain.
It's in North America. And here.
I got it. Lake Champlain. Chocolates. They make chocolates.
Ooh.
I don't recognize the name Ferrisburg. So
On New York's Adirondack coast, spring is a spectacular time to enjoy the Lake Champlain region on New York's Adirondack coast. Excuse me. The sun is shining and the outdoor recreation sound abounds. So there you go.
And this show was sponsored by Strauss Industries.
Yeah, they're getting their plugs today, aren't they? Well, tourism goes up from the UK and the United States and all around the world. We want a piece of it. No, anyway. Yeah, welcome to Lake Champlain.
Yeah. So, Lisa, can you tell us a bit about this creature from that very place?
You betcha. 2 people in Chittenden County on Saturday said they saw a dinosaur-like creature swimming in the waters of Lake Champlain. 71-year-old writer Lisa Arthur told Cryptozoology News she was with her friend Ina Danko, a 72-year-old school superintendent, when the animals showed up on September 1st. We were riding in a jet boat across from Charlotte. The water was glassy and there weren't other boats around. We saw what first appeared to be a swimmer some 50 feet away, explains Arthur. Ina saw it first and was alarmed, thinking it was a swimmer too far out from shore for safety. The surprise came when the 2 women realized they were looking What they were looking at had a head that wasn't human. It was attached to a long body. It began making swirling waves that broke with a white froth. They reportedly observed the unidentified being for about 3 minutes. As the creature went underwater, recalls Arthur, the swirling continued for a few minutes until the water became glassy again. The women described the creature as having a dark and long snake-like body with a roundish head. Arthur estimates the animal was about 30 feet long. They were not able to see whether the creature had scales on its skin. The water was too stirred up for us to tell, says the writer. But Arthur says she saw this same creature a few decades ago. She says she thinks the animal could be a plesiosaur, an order of the Mesozoic marine reptiles believed to have gone extinct about 66 million years ago. However, continuous reports describing a similar creature have made some researchers wonder whether some individuals could have been able to survive in places like Loch Ness in Scotland, Lake Champlain in North America, and the Okanagan Lake in British Columbia. Arthur explains that the first time she spotted the alleged dinosaur, also known as Champ, she was with her family at Fort Cassin. It was 1980. We were there. We were where the Otter Creek flows into Lake Champlain in Ferrisburgh. There were 14 of us, my parents, ex-husband, brother, sister, and their spouses. We heard waves crashing on the rocks along the shore and ran out of the cottage. Maybe 15 feet off the shore, we saw a long, dark, snake-like creature winding through the water, so that 3 or 4 humps broke the surface in a rolling movement. The skin appeared to be scaly, and the light reflected jaggedly off the scales. The wake was quite large and broke like small ocean waves. It wound along the shore and then headed out to deeper water, she said. I feel the creature Ina and I saw was similar to the one I saw with my family in the 80s. I've extensively researched large marine creatures, past and present. I think the animal we all saw most closely resembles a water reptile called a plesiosaur. Dang, 14 people saw it? It's a little hard to argue with.
Oh, really? And
Lots of sightings. Yeah.
That's so cool. Also, don't remind me not to swim in that lake.
Yeah, it's a big one, too, it looks like.
Yeah.
A lot of water there. Looks like plenty good hiking, too. Waterfalls, quite beautiful.
So it sounds it. It does sound it. Lovely there, yeah.
I love the idea of sort of a dinosaur species that managed to survive all these years. I just love that idea. Just in a remote, just one particular type of species in a remote location. That's just such a cool concept. It's one of those things where I'd love it to be true.
I lived in Lake Tahoe on and off for 30 years, and there's a legend of Tahoe Tessie. Have any of you ever heard of Tahoe Tessie?
No, never.
Almost like an underground, almost a dinosaur shape to it and stuff. There's even glass-bottom boats that go out, looking for it. And that lake, at one time they said was bottomless, but no, they found the bottom quite some time ago. But I think it goes down, I could be really sorely mistaken, but something like 2,700 feet at its deepest. So not too many people have explored, and it's a high, it's in the high Sierras. So the base of the lake is 6,200 vertical feet, and so the water's going to stay cold year round. So you don't get too many divers or underwater type, there's not going to be too many submarines there because it's too hard to get them there, in the mountains.
That's interesting, though, Stuart, what you say there, because that's the thing. That's what leaves it kind of open to explore these things, because they can't. We're not able to dive to those depths, and that. So who's to say that something could be living down there?
Exactly. So it's like we can't prove it, but we can't disprove it either.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because as we said earlier, there's some weird things down there. Well, mostly in the oceans. I don't know about big lakes, but probably the similar thing.
A lake that big,
yeah.
I didn't know.
I don't see how. The picture I'm looking at of Lake Champlain has a massive bridge going over it, or it looks like a fairly massive bridge, and there's boats. So it's a pretty big body of water from what I can tell.
Mm.
And so that might be just as deep, or deeper, but who knows?
Wow.
Somebody does.
Yes, self-sustaining ecosystem of its own. Which
Yeah.
Oh, it does go into Canada.
It goes into Canada?
Yep.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, from the borders maybe, yeah.
Wow.
Sounds incredible, yeah. If it were, I mean, even just to go there, as you said, just to go and take in the scenery there sounds lovely, You could have a lovely day out there or weekend break away, And if you happen to see, Champ pop its head up, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
It's about as far away for you guys as it is for us, I think. Like,
it's a long way from us. I mean,
that's true.
Jake, how many hours? 8 hours at least on the plane, I would think, Jake, isn't it?
To New York?
No, yeah, to there or to Canada even, I think.
Around that, yeah.
Yeah. Is that about the same distance for you as well, if you were going from there, Lisa?
It's about 6 hours.
Still a long time. It's incredible, isn't it? It's still a long time for you, even though you're...
Ireland was 9 hours.
That's the thing, is like you guys have to cross a large land mass and we have to cross an ocean.
Water. Yep.
Okay, Jake, let's hear your strange fact.
Strange facts.
In 2007, an American man named Corey Taylor tried to fake his own death in order to get out of his mobile phone contract without paying a fee. It didn't work.
I love it.
Without paying a fee, full stop. It didn't work. Full stop. It didn't work. No.
That's brilliant.
That's the thing. I want to know. I want more backstory behind that.
Wait a minute, that was it? I'm waiting.
Yeah. 2007, an American man named Corey Taylor tried to fake his own death in order to get out of his mobile phone contract without paying a fee. It didn't work.
Well,
actually, no. It's got a link.
He accidentally.
Hang on. It's got a link. Wait a second. It's got a link. When it tried to fake his own death, is highlighted in blue. I've just clicked on it. Washington Post. Free browse now. I agree. Continue to cite. Yeah, I want to know more about this. Here we go. Okay, bonus story. Cell phone contracts hard to get off the hook. Saturday, August 2018 from August 2007. Okay. Fed up with dropped calls and a string of defective cell phones, Corey Taylor said he became irate when he learned he'd have to pay $175 to get out of his long-term contract with Verizon Wireless. He resorted to a rather extreme measure. He faked his own death. After reading on a blog that wireless companies would cancel the contracts of deceased customers, I thought, what have I got to lose besides a cell phone I despise? Well, what have I got to lose besides a cell phone I despise? Taylor said. The Chicago consultant fashioned a fake death certificate and had a friend fax it to Verizon Wireless, his carrier. He thought he was in the clear until the company caught on. In the end, I forked over the money, Taylor said, but I bet I sent a definite message about how much people hate being strapped to a cell phone that doesn't work. Most cell phone owners find themselves committed to 2-year service contracts with wireless companies facing hefty fees for an early escape. But as customer satisfaction with firms continues to slide, consumers are taking more drastic actions to shed their contracts. Such desperate attempts are compelling evidence that the wireless carriers have failed to address the desires of the market, said Phil Doriot, a partner with consulting firm CFI Group of Ann Arbor, Mitch, which has studied customer satisfaction for major cellular service providers. No other industry could get away with being so inflexible.
Oh, that's great. It's nice to get a bit of more of a bonus backstory. We don't normally have those links,
I know. It's only because the fact that you sent to me had a blue link on fake his own death that brought me to that article.
Oh, cool.
That was a nice little bonus story on that strange fact.
Yeah. So it didn't. It didn't work for him. Yeah.
Yeah, now you know the rest of the story.
I want to thank you all for being here for this edition. So let's thank Jake Wardle.
Thank you for having me again. It's wonderful to be back on this podcast.
Thank you, Lisa Coronado.
Heck yeah, this is super fun. Thank you for inviting me.
And of course, let's thank Stewart Strauss.
Hey, well, thank you, Frank. And as always, great getting together with Lisa and Jake. So
Yeah, that's
Thank
lovely. Lovely. Thank you so much, guys. And
Talk to you next time.
we'll be back with another World of Strange very soon. Until then, do sleep tight.